old mates on Paris Island. We left as inmates from an asylum, and we were sharp as knives, and we were so gung-ho to lay down our lives. We came in spastic like tameless horses. We left in plastic as numbered corpses. And it was dark, so dark at night, and we held on to each other like brother to brother. We promised our mothers we'd write, and we would all go down together. We said we'd all go down together. Yes, we would all go down together.
I heard this song about the Vietnam War and it really moved me. It's called Goodnight Saigon. It was written by Billy Joel in 1982. There were other popular songs from the 1980s about the war, like Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. The war was fought almost 10 years earlier, in the early 1960s to the early 1970s. Why were they writing songs so long after the war? Well, what all these songs have in common is that they speak about the individual soldier as a person and what they went through. The songs themselves are memorials to these people.
Hi, I'm Luke. This song made me think about different ways I can explore the Vietnam War outside of the history books. Recently, I joined Alabama Public Television in interviewing Max Steinmetz, a survivor of the Holocaust during World War II. We recorded his story in what is called an oral history. He told us his story of being sent to concentration camps by the Nazis. I found that not only did I learn about the Holocaust, but that I had made a friend in Max. Just his story, and getting to spend time with him, it made the Holocaust relevant to me. And when I heard these songs about the soldiers of the Vietnam War, it almost sounded like oral histories. So I decided, with the help of Alabama Public Television, to try and learn more about the Vietnam War by conducting an oral history with a veteran from my community here in Alabama. So join me in creating this oral history and getting to know a Vietnam veteran.
Remember Charlie, remember Baker. They left their childhood on every acre. And who was wrong and who was right? It didn't matter in the thick of the fight.
Let's start our journey here in Mobile, Alabama. This is the Alabama Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which lists the names of the 1,213 men from Alabama gave their lives during the roughly 10 years of the war. In Washington, D.C., the National Vietnam Memorial lists the names of all 57,939 service personnel that died. But what were these men fighting for? What was the war even about? I hope to find some answers by visiting the memorial in Washington. Alabama Public Television has been invited to join Mr. Richard Lane, a Vietnam veteran, and Blake Busman, a history teacher, in visiting the memorial. My friend Victoria will also be there. And after the visit, you and I will conduct an oral history with Mr. Lane In Victoria, we'll continue to explore the memorial and the war. We'll be doing the oral history live, so you can send in questions and vote on poll questions. You can also follow along on the worksheet that you can download from our website. Let's go to Washington and see the Vietnam Memorial, which many people just call the Wall. We got to the memorial in the morning when the sun was coming up. The Washington Monument was right there.
It made me really think about where I was and what I was doing.
I hear about it, and I see it like on the internet and stuff, and then, it's kind of like, it's there. I'm actually here, in our nation's capital. Mr. Lane was right there with me. It was just amazing, knowing he was there. Like, he was there. Vietnam.
And then a rainy season would be maybe 3 months or 4 months straight rain.
Them telling you, guiding you through it, say, yeah, I remember this, let me tell you something about, that reminds me of this, but also having them there, I guess you just have to wrap your mind around it.
Mr. Lane never visited the memorial. I was curious about that.
So why have you waited until now to visit the memorial?
Well, it's not that there's anything about the memorial in itself. I just have the opportunity here through Auburn High School, Blake here, and want to take advantage of that opportunity. I consider it a privilege. I know a few that are on that wall, but their memory, whether I saw the monument or not, I'd have their memory and their sacrifices, what they did.
Yeah.
So I feel like from a spiritual standpoint that I'm thankful to the Lord for all of these men that gave their lives for us. There's no greater love than when a man lays down his life for his brother.
Yeah.
And that's what we have here. So it's a privilege to be here.
Yes. It got easier to talk to him as we went on because he really, I guess he engaged me more. Like he talked to me a lot. He really welcomed me. Sometimes like pull me to the side just a little bit and talk to me kind of one-on-one. And so I was kind of like, wow, this is pretty cool. He's giving me like a one-on-one history lesson. He's pulling me to the side. I guess that made me, like special.
Mr. Lane had been telling me of a friend of his that died in Vietnam whose name was on the wall. There's a directory at the memorial where you can find where each name is located. We went to find Mr. Lane's friend.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we'll walk over here. Yes, sir. What's the first name?
Okay, first name is well, the only one that I have.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure there's many on there that I would recognize
Sure.
that we went through training together, but Lieutenant in the Marine Corps, Bill Neuss, Neuss. I went to high school with Bill. He's about 6'7", 6'8". He was a center. I was the manager of the basketball team.
Wow, definitely.
And so he was 2 or 3 years behind me at Seton Hall in Long Island, New York, the Catholic school. Just a great guy.
William Henry Neuss.
That's it.
27 East.
All right, William.
Above your friend William Henry Neuss, Ted Nura Jr. played football for Auburn. He was in Air Force. He played football in the '57 championship team.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And I was like, I know that name from somewhere, and I
Yeah.
remember researching that, and he played football for Auburn.
That's
He was
amazing.
the only Auburn football player to have died in Vietnam.
Ah, I didn't know that.
The almost 58,000 names in the memorial are listed chronologically by order of the date the service members died.
The way you can tell when days start is they're in alphabetical order. So here you have Tommy Huerta, Ray
Yeah.
Huff. So these are all people lost in one day.
Wow.
And then if you come back here, you've got Warher. Then it starts at Alvazio. So this would be a new day marked by the break in the alphabet.
At first, I walked up and I was like, wow, well, here it is. But then I realized I'm actually here. And I started looking at all the different soldiers. And then I turned and looked back. Wow, every single space is filled with a name, like a soldier's name that died in the war. And I was like, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around, actually. You know, I'm walking through, and it was, especially seeing the woman there when she started, she was, got emotional, I guess her family member. I was like, wow, that you know, tugged at me.
So here's 27 East.
All right, William. Alphabetical.
Bill Noose.
That's him.
Right here.
Yeah. Let's see. Where is he now, William?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They just.
We found the name of Mr. Lane's friend, William Noose. It was obviously an emotional moment for Mr. Lane. We looked up Bill Noose on our phone to see his picture and read why he's on the wall. In October of 1967, his unit of Marines was being overrun by North Vietnamese soldiers. Bill Noose led his men to fight them off. Eventually he succeeded and saved his men, but during the battle he was killed by a machine gun. He was awarded the Silver Star for his actions.
Are you glad you visited the memorial?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it personalizes it for me as to the aspect of all of the men who gave their lives. They're all in their, he was in his 20s, you know, they're all pretty young. Well, it helped make it personal.
As we walked away, Mr. Lane ran right into a group of Vietnam veterans that were also visiting the wall.
It was cool because it was almost like they knew each other almost, like they already knew each other, and so they were, you know, he would talk to them and they it seemed like they knew what each other was talking about, and it's really cool. And it was also cool listening to the other veterans stories.
I always carry a list in my wallet of all the guys that I lost 19 over there, platoon members and good friends.
Good men. Yeah. We need to remember, you know, yes, and let others know. God bless you.
Like when I saw the veterans and like, here I am, like right there with them, and so yeah, that makes it again seem more real, and that does make it seem more important. It wasn't something that, you know, was made up or anything. Oral history is, and you can't get it, something that you can't get in the history books, and they have some incredible stories.
I saw the Vietnam Memorial as not only a place to remember and learn about the people that died in the war, but as a place where living veterans and family members can gather to share their stories and heal from the hurts caused by the war.